Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I'll start with passing the roll sheet first. Okay, so if you're just put your initial next to your name again, and we'll keep track of who's here and who's not. All right. So the first thing I want to do is to talk about the homework assignment. For those of you who are on the wait list, let me address that one too. I have already enabled guest access to this course, but you need a password to get to it. Oh, this is the wrong one. All right, that happens. There you go. All right. So I have already enabled guest access, and the password is Al Gore, as in our previous vice president. Because algorithm, algorithm. So you can kind of imagine, Al Gore doing hip hop. That's an easy way to remember it. Algorithm, or their lack of. All right. So let's go back to the main site. All right. So let me just kind of go through this process one whole time, so we know how to log in as a guest. So to log in as a guest, if you're on the wait list, you have to log in as a guest. This is how you do it. I have just logged out here completely. So this is what you see when you go to moodle.losreals.edu. You go to CISP under course categories. So click that, and you should see cisp300. Click that, and it will ask you for a password to sign in as a guest. So at this point, you can unmask it, and say, Al Gore, ALGORE, all lowercase. Click submit, and then you will gain access to the content of the course. As a guest, you cannot turn in homework assignments, and for all the people who are trying to add to this class, late, I will give you, a make-up homework assignment that will be the same amount of points. So don't worry that you cannot turn in any homework that counts for a point, because I'll give you a chance to do it. I have to wait a little bit before doing that, because I have to kind of wait until the class roster is stabilized. Okay. Are there any questions about this process? How to log in as a guest? Question? All good? All right. This time I'm going to log in as myself, because we are going to talk about the homework assignment today first, and then we'll talk about other types of statements, because we are going to talk about conditional statements, and hopefully we'll get to conditional statements today. Something is locked up. We'll go take a look at the homework assignment first. All right. With this homework assignment, it is important to follow the instruction. The step one is to install LibreOffice. Okay, so that's really important that you use LibreOffice to do the homework. And I give you two options here. Okay, either one is fine. Step two is to customize LibreOffice. So you have to go to Tools, Options, LibreOffice, User Data, and make sure that you have your name there. Okay. And then the actual homework assignment is step three. You have to complete step 1 and 2 first. So step 3 tells you that you have to right-click here, not left-click, not the regular click, right-click. Right-click and then select Save Link As or Save File As, depending on which browser you use. So you save the file to a folder where you can remember. And what I'll do is I'm going to capture that file too. So I'm going to create a new folder for today, which is 2013-0129-300. And this is usually how I do things. I create a new folder for each day when I have to save something. So I will save the file to that folder. And it is now saved. I can now go to that folder to edit my file. So I go to Applications, go to my LibreOffice, Calc, and then open the document from that location. All right, so this is what I want you guys to do. There we go. At first I thought it was empty. It's like, no, it should not be empty. I wouldn't give you something that trivial to do. All right, so this is the homework assignment, and the instruction also says here, sheet 1 contains the algorithm. Use sheet 2 to trace the algorithm. Follow all the conventions that we discussed in class. Okay, so we'll go ahead and try to do that. I would open a new window first so that I can both look at the algorithm itself and also look at the trace at the same time. Come on, let's be precise. All right, so we go to sheet 2 to trace the algorithm. The convention is, we use one column for line number and then one column for each variable. In this case, how many variables do we have? Two variables. One is called x and one is called y. And we have a precondition, which means what do we know about the variables before we start on the first line. Did the instructions say anything about a precondition, like make an assumption that x has a certain value or y has a certain value? There's nothing there, so we have to put question marks in these two cells so that we know that x and y do not start with any known value. Now there's a big difference between x and y starting with an unknown value versus x and y start with no value. Okay? Because if I say that x and y start with no value, I actually know what it is. But if I tell you they start with an unknown value, then I know nothing about it. Okay? So it's very important to remember this, because in C and C++ programming, your variables for the most part will start with some unknown value. It's not like that it doesn't have a value. It has a value. You just don't know what it is. Okay? So this is very important to remember, when you move on to the next class. All right. So now then we move on to the first line. If this is showing line 1, it means the rest of that row is indicating the value of each variable after that line executes. So the question is, after line 1 executes, what would be the value of x? 6. Very good. What about y? It remains unknown because we didn't do anything about it. Here's line 2. After line 2 executes, what do we know about x? It continues to have a value of 6 because we are not changing it on line 2. What about y? It's a value of 2. Very good. And here's line 3. Line 3 is x gets x minus 2. X gets x minus y. So now you have to use the current values of x and y to evaluate the right-hand side. The right-hand side refers to the right-hand side of the left arrow, which is x minus y in this case. X currently has a value of 6. Y currently has a value of 2. 6 minus 2 is 4. So that's the value of the right-hand side. What do we do with the value on the right-hand side in an assignment? We update the left-hand side. Very good. So the left-hand side specifies which variable. Okay, so x is now updated to a value of 4. Do we do anything with y? It maintains a value of 2. Okay, so we are not changing it. Now we move on to line 4. What do we do on line 4? The right-hand side specifies x. X currently has a value of 4. So the entire right-hand side is really just a value of 4 in this case. The left-hand side specifies y, so y has to be updated to a value of 4, which also means x is not changed, but y is now changed to a value of 4. Moving on to line 5. Line 5 says, change x to 4. Okay, well that's easy enough because it's already 4. And then oops, did I make a mistake? I think I did, didn't I? Nope, I did not. Okay. And we are not doing anything with y, so y remains, as a value of 4. And then after we are done with everything, we type post, just so that we mark the end of the execution of this entire algorithm. So this is what I'm expecting, as the homework submission. Now, the other thing I'm also expecting is when I go to edit, and I go to changes, and I go to either accept or reject or show, I want to be able to see this, okay? This only happens if you use the document that is linked. If you copy and paste the content to a new document and save the new document, then it won't meet this requirement. Okay, so points will be deducted because of that. Now, this is a 5-point homework assignment, so even if you lose all 5 points, it's not going to be that significant to your final score. I'm only using this to make sure that people remember how to work on homework assignments, because this is what you need to do for all the future homework assignments. So don't get too bothered if you lose points because you did not follow these steps exactly. Just make sure that in the future you follow all these steps. Yep.
I turned off show because the red boxes were irritating me.
You turn off?
Like, because you could go to show, it has the red box around each cell.
Yeah.
Am I going to be deducted just because I turned off the show? Okay.
No, that's fine.
I was just making sure.
Yeah, I think it came disabled to begin with. It should come with this, like this, because that's what I did, right? I just right-clicked and downloaded it. So maybe at one point in time you enabled it.
Yeah.
And then you left. If you left it enabled, that's fine with me. I don't have a problem with that. Right. Okay. Are there any questions? Now, one thing that I will look at is, I can go here. I can go to changes, and if I go to accept or reject, I see a log like this. This is what I'm seeing right now. It's a log. Let me just kind of change the columns a little bit here. I can show you what what I can see. Okay, so basically every time I do something to a cell, it leaves behind a row like this. Okay, and I'll be looking at this when I grade the homework assignment, and you can kind of see how long it took me to do the homework assignment. I started. This is UTC, so it's not really Pacific time, but you can see that I started here and I finished here. It took me about 6 minutes to do it, and I was explaining things the whole time too. So for some of you, you probably can takes less than 2 minutes, okay, possibly less than 2 minutes. But on the other hand, if I see all the changes all occurring in the same second, I'll be looking at it with some suspicion. Is that okay? Does it make sense? Because if within 1 second, the same timestamp for all the changes to happen at the same time, what do you think would make that happen? Copy and paste, exactly. And that's not by itself, it's not a problem, but it's definitely a flag that I'm looking for. All right. And this is why we are all using LibreOffice. All right. So this is all done. I'm going to save it. So this is saved on my own thumb drive. If anyone is interested, you can send me an email to remind me to upload it. But I think this is not really too complicated, and the screen recording also has the entire process of me working on this homework assignment. So I don't think there's really a whole lot of need to upload it. Okay, so we are pretty much done with this particular slide regarding assignment statements.